So I know that people are busy and time is valuable, so I thought I'd put together a list of 10 books that I could recommend to people. And this is not a comprehensive list of all the science fiction out there. These are books that I've read and reviewed since starting this channel. And they also have the added benefit of being 250 pages or less, which I think is a really good sweet spot for classic science fiction. I also wanted to introduce the Board of Judgment here. I'm a bit of an amateur hack woodworker. I built the shelves you see behind me and did a video on that. And I had some scraps laying around and kind of came up with this idea to use this board as a prop to maybe save myself a little editing in future videos. So you might, if you stick around with this channel, you might see the Board of Judgment in some other future content. But let's just go ahead and get started with this list. Number 10, Man Plus by Frederik Pohl. Copyright 1976 and 246 pages. In this 1976 Nebula Award-winning novel, colonizing Mars seems to be humanity's last resort to save themselves from a possible nuclear Armageddon. But instead of terraforming Mars, wouldn't it be easier to biologically modify and enhance a human to live on the planet unaided? After something goes awry with the first candidate, our main character Roger comes along and volunteers for this procedure, but doesn't really know what he's getting himself into. As Roger goes through these modifications, he starts to lose pieces of his humanity, but at the same time he starts to gain insights. And as this goes on, he starts to understand that there's something altogether stranger going on here. While this is not a perfect novel, it's fast-paced, entertaining, and has a unique twist ending. Frederik Pohl is a grandmaster of science fiction with a career spanning over 70 years. And while this might not be his best novel, it's definitely worth a read if you come across it. Number 9, Mission of Gravity by Hal Clement. Copyright 1954 and 231 pages. This is a classic of hard science fiction involving a group of astronauts that travel to a world called Mescaline. This planet is a rapidly spinning flattened sphere that has 3 Gs of Earth's gravity on the equator and up to 700 times the gravity of Earth on its poles. When the astronauts lose a probe on this planet, they enlist the help of these lobster-like alien creatures to help retrieve it. Hal uses the complex physics of this planet as the antagonist in this novel, as the humans and aliens have to puzzle out the problems of retrieving this probe. A lot of this novel becomes an interesting adventure from the point of view of the aliens as they go on this mission. This is a smart, fun, and sometimes humorous hard science fiction adventure novel, and if you've never read any hard science fiction in the past, this may be a great place to start. Number 8, A Case of Conscience by James Blish. Copyright 1958 and 188 pages. This one won the 1958 Hugo Award for Best Novel, and it's broken up into 2 distinct parts. In the first part, we find a Jesuit priest and 3 other scientists on an alien world where the aliens, called Lithians, are being assessed to see if their world should be opened up for greater human contact. These aliens have no religion whatsoever, but have a deep set of morals, and this perplexes our Jesuit priest. The team of humans are conflicted in deciding the fate of these aliens. While the second half might go off the rails a bit, it leads up to an amazing, unpredictable finale. Blish addresses themes of religion, war, slavery, and capitalism in this passionate novel, and if you haven't checked this one out yet, I highly recommend it. Number 7, The Female Man by Joanna Russ. Copyright 1975 and 214 pages. This is a work of feminist science fiction, and the idea of parallel worlds is used to bring 4 different characters together to show the differences between gender roles and how different societies treat gender. This novel takes the reader through so many different emotions, including anger, humor, disgust, sadness, amongst many others. The unique narrative and writing style really challenge the reader to figure out what's going on with all these different characters, but the payoff is definitely worth it. While the first half of this novel has a bit of a angry, harsh tone, Russ really settles in the second half of this novel and gets into an almost stream of consciousness writing style, and overall I really enjoyed it. I think great science fiction should always challenge the reader to broaden their understanding of all sorts of different topics, and this one definitely does that. Number 6, Tau Zero by Poul Anderson, copyright 1970 and 188 pages. This is a great hard science fiction novel that focuses on the physics and psychological effects of a spaceship and its crew of 50 people, 25 male and 25 female, as they travel across the cosmos. The setup of this one is great, and after an unexpected turn of events, our story takes off in a completely different trajectory. This one is part hard science fiction and part interpersonal soap opera, and explores the effects of extreme time dilation. This one is a classic, and while some people don't enjoy some of the soap opera elements, I enjoyed every bit of it, including the highly speculative ending. You should check this one out if you haven't. Number 5, Circus World by Barry B. Longyear, copyright 1981 and 182 pages. This is a fix-up novel, which is a collection of related short stories. After a circus group sets off from Earth to take their show on the road, they end up crash landing on a deserted planet that they call Momus, and their society evolves from circus culture. An Earth-based diplomat travels to Momus to warn the inhabitants of a potential invasion from the Ninth Quadrant, and our inhabitants of Momus end up in the middle of a political struggle. The residents of Momus use their circus skills, wit, and unique cultural ideals to try to save themselves from this potential threat. This is a great collection of short stories that range from hilarious to deep and meaningful. By looking at the cover, you would never expect this to be as complex and intriguing as it really was. If you like this one as much as I did, then you're in luck, because Longyear wrote 2 other novels in this Circus World series that go over some of the backstory leading up to the events in this one. In my video, I go over some reading order, but I highly recommend starting with this one. Number 4, The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham, copyright 1951 and 191 pages. This is a great classic post-apocalyptic novel. What happens when you mix large, mobile, carnivorous plants with a meteor shower that renders most of the population blind? Well, you get an apocalypse. Our main character Bill manages to avoid this blindness, but he's left trying to figure out what to do and who to help in this dire situation. The reader never gets all of the information, and there's some conspiracies going on that leave some openness to the plot. This novel can get really dark at times and has a twist ending that really caught me off guard. Wyndham is a great writer, and you should definitely check this one out if you get the chance. Number 3, This Immortal by Roger Zelazny, copyright 1966 and 174 pages. This novel tied for the 1966 Hugo Award for Best Novel with Dune by Frank Herbert. In the future, Earth has been devastated by some sort of nuclear event, and all the humans and animals left on the planet have been mutated by the radiation. An alien race called the Vegans are fascinated by the fact that humanity managed to wipe themselves out in this nuclear event, and they use Earth as kind of a tourist destination. Our seemingly immortal main character Conrad is tasked with taking an important vegan and his entourage on a tour of Earth, but starts to realize that there might be some mysterious intentions going on in this facade. This was a captivating read with a unique premise, great characters, and fantastic writing. And while I thoroughly enjoyed this book, it did have a bit of an abrupt ending, but don't let that hold you back. Check this one out if you can. Number 2, The Inverted World by Christopher Priest, copyright 1974 and 255 pages. Oh, wait a minute. I thought these were all under 250 pages. Well, when I first read this book, I read the book club edition, which was 248 pages, so I'm going to go ahead and give that one a pass. This novel mostly follows our main character Hellward as he grows up on this moving city called Earth. The people of this city have to keep it moving along tracks, always following this mysterious optimum. In this world, age is defined by miles, and this book has one of the best first lines in all of science fiction. But why does the city have to keep moving along the tracks following the optimum? Why do the residents experience strange distortions of perception if they travel away from the optimum? And why do the residents of passing towns not experience the same thing as our residents of this moving city do? You will never guess what the residents think is going on and what is actually going on unless you give this one a read. This one had great writing, a great story, and the reveal at the end was amazing. This is one that I keep thinking about even to this day. Number 1, Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. Copyright 1953 and 218 pages. This is a classic from Clarke and probably one of the most popular books on this list, and for good reason. Massive alien spaceships show up to Earth and silently hover over all the major cities on the planet. After 1 week, these alien overlords break their silence and allow one representative of Earth to come up to one of their ships and periodically meet and be briefed on what these aliens intend for the future of humanity. It seems that these overlords are here to help prevent some sort of extinction event for humanity, and it seems to work because instantly the world becomes a little bit more peaceful with this alien presence hovering above them. Without spoiling anything, this book is broken up into 3 parts, and the reveals at the end or the beginnings of each of these parts are truly mind-blowing. If you haven't read this one for some reason, I highly recommend it, and if it's been a while, I recommend a reread. So that's it for this video. I have future plans to keep updating this list of 10 recommended books under 250 pages as I get more and more books under my belt. And I also have some other ideas for the Board of Judgment for some other future kind of content. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.